Breaking news from the International Court of Justice, which just released its order calling on Israel to halt its offensive in Rafah. However, the court doesn't have a way to really enforce its decision, but the ruling comes as Israel is expanding its ground operations in that southern Gaza city and facing increasing isolation in the international community over its military conduct. And there's new urgency around reaching a ceasefire deal as CIA Director Bill Burns heads to Europe to meet with Israeli and Qatari negotiators. Let's get right to NBC News foreign correspondent Raf Sanchez in Tel Aviv for us. Raf, what kind of significance does this ruling from the International Court of Justice hold?
So, Anna, this ruling is binding and it is final. And so if Israel does not comply with it, technically they are in breach of international law. But as you said, the court does not have an enforcement mechanism. And in the past, rulings of the ICJ have been ignored by Israel and by others. Now, if there is a dispute, this could go to the UN Security Council, which could, in theory, enforce this ruling. But Israel will be hoping that the United States would veto any measures there that the Security Council might take against it. But as you said, this leaves Israel more diplomatically isolated. It comes just a few days after the International Criminal Court said its prosecutor is seeking the arrest of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, accusing them of intentionally starving the civilian population of Gaza, an allegation that they deny. Prime Minister Netanyahu is right now meeting with members of his cabinet, formulating a response to this ruling by the International Court of Justice. Israel has said in the past it will not allow the court to end its war against Hamas in Gaza, and it sees this Rafah operation as absolutely critical to that war effort. Anna, there might be a little bit of legal wiggle room here. The court says Israel has 1 month to submit a report explaining how it is complying with the court's ruling. Israel might take the position that as long as this Rafah operation is done within the next month, it could say in that report that it has complied with what the judge has ordered. Anna.
But we're getting the reports that Israel is actually expanding its attack on Rafah as the CIA director heads to Europe for ceasefire talks. What more do we know just about the stakes of this moment?
So as you say, Anna, 800,000 Palestinian civilians have now been displaced from Rafah out of a total population about 1.6 million. Many of those are people who are already displaced from cities in the north. Now, the White House is saying that this is still within the lines that it set, that it wants Israel to refrain from launching an all-out offensive against the population centers. But Palestinians will tell you this feels like an all-out offensive to them. CIA Director Bill Burns heading to Paris. He's due to meet with the head of the Mossad spy agency, with the Prime Minister of Qatar, key negotiators in these long-running ceasefire talks. But Anna, we have seen this movie before where the CIA director heads to a capital in Europe, in the Middle East, trying to breathe new life into these talks. But they have been stalled since late November, and there isn't a lot of optimism right now.